Okay, welcome councillors, officers and members of the public to this meeting of the Finance Strategy and Management Committee. Item number 1, apologies for absence.
We have apologies from Councillor Dave Eggleton.
Councillor Rowlands.
Councillor Hinton has just messaged me saying she's going to be a few minutes late, but she is joining us.
Okay, right, thank you. Item number 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest on the agenda items? You see none. Item number 3, public participation. And as we agreed just before the meeting started, we'll those who are presenting or wish to speak on grant applications, we'll take that during agenda item 7, the start of agenda item 7. But I think we still do have one member of the public who wants to speak on a different matter. Is that right, David Byrne?
Well, I mean, I want to talk about the item number 6, the car club.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Yep. Okay. Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. So I'm here to support the motion that's before you about funding the car club. The car club's something I felt quite passionately about for a number of years. It first came to the fore when we did a transport project with Henley College. That was in 2013. So the idea has been on the table for a little while, but it's really been pushed forward in the last 3 years under the air quality agenda. So why should you vote for it? Well, for air quality reasons. The cars that the car club will be using will be low emission cars. So it's going to help with our air quality issues. Ideally, we'd be launching with electric cars, but we're not at the moment. In order to get things going, we're going with hybrid cars, but they can then be replaced with electric ones later on. So air quality, you're doing something about that. Secondly, lowering carbon emissions. So those will be reduced in a number of ways. But one is on the fuel, particularly when we've got electric cars. But secondly, you reduce the number of cars on the road. And that's the third advantage. Eventually, there will be fewer cars because there is this idea that a car club car will eventually replace perhaps up to 6 individually owned cars. I haven't got time to go into why that happens, but obviously that's can reduce the number of cars on the road, and in particular help with things like residence parking in the centre of the town. Fourthly, savings for individual residents. If you're using a car club car instead of having your own individual car, then you don't pay any tax, insurance, depreciation, any servicing costs and repairs or road rescue. So they reckon that if you're doing less than 6,000 miles a year, then you'd be saving money by using a car club car. Who are the target groups? The target groups are really with people with a car that is used infrequently. So it's not targeting people who use a car every day for work, for example. But again, back to my 6,000 miles figure, if you're doing less than 6,000 miles, you'd be better off using a car club car. But also it's people who can't afford a car because it's pay as you go motoring. So you just pay for it when you use it. So that's a second group. And I think young people are particularly, it's useful from their point of view, because once you've got 1 year on your driving license, then you haven't got all those costs, particularly things like insurance. I'm sure parents will be very pleased to be able to say to someone, well, I'm not going to buy you a car because you can use the car club car down the road. In terms of targeting as well, Co-Wheels have done a study of Henley and it's a sort of demographic study where they break people up into different categories. And one of their categories was metropolitan living people. And apparently we got lots of those, and they got quite excited when they did their analysis. And particularly down the Reading Road, there's around Upton Close and the roads off the Reading Road a bit further out. You've got a high proportion of these people who are very positively inclined towards car clubs. Why Co-Wheels? We did do a comparison 3 years ago. We looked at 3 different companies, and Co-Wheels came out as the best, cheaper for Henley Town Council and SODC in terms of funding, cheaper for car club members, or at least as cheap as the others. And there are other side advantages, like they have a lower excess on insurance, and they've also got national coverage. I mean, they've been going for quite a long while now. You know, if you went on holiday, as I did once, to the Lake District, in fact, you know, I joined Co-Wheels and I picked up my Co-Wheels car and then had it for a few days while we were traveling around up there. The business model, there was I think a bit of misreporting perhaps in the Standard last week. Co-Wheels own the cars. They lease them for 2 to 3 years. And what's required of a town or whatever who is that are wanting to have a car club is that you fund the first 2 years, you know, to get the whole thing going. After that, it is self-funding. So there's that initial cost to get things going, but then it grows organically as more people join and there's a need for more cars, then more cars are put into place. And one other thing about the leasing is that we can easily move from hybrid cars to electric cars when we've got electric charging points available. Lastly, and I'm sure I'm over my 3 minutes, but anyways, apologies for that. I think it's an idea whose time has come. I think in a few years' time, 5 years' time or whatever, we'll be looking back and saying, well, yes, it wasn't good that we went with the car club then, because by then, and the vision really for Henley is that eventually we will have cars dotted around the town so that every resident is within a 5 to 10 minute walk of a car club car. Yeah, so please vote in favour of the car club in item number 6.
Thank you, Dave. I know I've known you a long time, Dave. I know there's been an idea that you've been it's been close to your heart for some long time now, and it's great to see this this finally coming to fruition, assuming that the vote goes in favour tonight. And it must be good to see that to see that happen. And I was going to use the phrase, it's an idea whose time has come, but you stole it from me. Obviously,
apologies.
So anyway, thank you very much for that that very clear explanation.
Well, thanks for giving me the time.
So I think the other three are all going to speak on grant applications and on item 7. So in which case I'm going to close this item, public question time, public participation, and move on to item 4. Item 4, minutes. So to approve the minutes of the committee meeting held on the 26th of January. Do I have a proposal to approve those? Councillor Plant, seconded by Councillor Romans. All those in favour? Okay, that's passed. Item number 5, finances. So we have the investment performance update, dashboard papers, management account, summary of SUL expenditure, bank reconciliations, and summary of payments. Does anyone have any specific questions or comments on any of these papers? If not, kind of proposal that we note them. Councillor Gavashak, seconder for that, please.
Sorry, Chair, it was a comment, and then right, yes, I will propose. It's really just to note the investment performance on page 7 that we should thank Investec and Redmayne Bentley for such a really good performance. I know the stock market can go up and it can go down, but it should be noted at this moment that it's pretty good. So thank them for that, for their stewardship of the residents of Henley's money. So thank you. Apart from that, I propose yes.
Right. There was a second for that, Councillor Platt. Were you putting your hand up to second, or? Yep. Yeah, okay, thank you. Any other comments? I agree with Councillor Gavashak, by the way. Yes, our investment managers, given the difficulties of the time, seem to have done a very good job in keeping our investments with such great success. Okay, all's in favour of accepting those papers? Okay, thank you. Item number 6, expenditure, to approve the following items of expenditure. So as we've just heard from David McEwen in public participation, to allocate up to £23,982 from SIL for the establishment of a car club. Councillor Gavashak, I think you wanted to speak to this. Would you like to speak and propose?
I will, but what I'll do, if I could let Fiona speak first, because it's Fiona that's created this report, and then after Fiona has presented the the paper, then yes, if you would allow me to speak, please. Thank you.
Right, Fiona, please, would you like to introduce the paper?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for Dave McEwen for his eloquent and accurate introduction to the issues surrounding this, and indeed all the work that he's done to get the car club to this point. This refers to page 41 of your pack, the Henley Car Club. This is an issue that deals directly with the climate emergency, air quality improvement, and also saves residents money, as Dave has already explained to you, particularly at this time when so many more people are considering working from home and using their car less to commute to work. The recommendation before you on page 44 of your pack is to pay £23,982 to fund the car club for 2 years. And Dave has set out the background to that very well. And also, secondly, to support the use of one of the car parking spaces for the 2 car club cars in Upper Marketplace. Now, these are the spaces that are currently leased to residents, but one is available, so it's not currently being used. They're normally leased out at a charge to residents of £1,200 a year. And this report asks the council to consider allocating one space to the car club and not taking that lease fee for that period. So that's the recommendation for your consideration, obviously, or amendment this evening. The costs break down as about £19,000, as David has explained, for co-wheels who will own, maintain, insure, and make all the booking arrangements for the car club. It may also require, included within that £23,000 figure, a TRO to accommodate the second car parking space, and £1,500 have been allocated towards signage. So that's a total maximum cost of £23,982. The timing on this issue is quite critical for 2 reasons. Firstly, because South Oxfordshire District Council are in a position in this financial year to offer us 50% of the cost. So that would reduce the total cost to Henley Town Council to £11,991 for that 2-year arrangement. If there's a delay, it may be possible to extend that into next year. And indeed, we haven't secured a 100% guarantee for this year, but if the Finance Strategy Management Committee can approve this decision, then that gives us the best chance of securing that 50% funding from SODC this financial year. The second timing issue is obviously the roadmap out of lockdown. We're aiming for a launch date of the 12th of April. And that's because that's what we hope will be, fingers crossed, step 2 of exit from lockdown. And that's when non-essential retail and outdoor attractions, amongst other things, will open up. And so people will feel freer, we think, to move around and use the new car club cars. So the recommendation is before you, and I look forward to hearing your comments. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Fiona. That was a very clear summary of what's being proposed. Councillor Gavashak, would you like to make this proposal as on the
Yes, thank you, Chair, for that. And Yes, I'd like to propose 5.1 and 5.2 on the agenda, and if that is seconded, I would like to speak, please.
Do we have a seconder for that proposal? You don't have to speak at this point. I'm happy to second that from the chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Can I actually thank Dave McEwen and Fiona for following this since she actually was appointed, and for Dave McEwen for sticking with it for about 3 years in actually doing all the research and bringing this to fruition. This has come from the Transport Group, which unanimously approved it. It's part of the air quality agenda. Planters, particulate monitors, walking signs, the cycle racks, the HGV ban that we're working on, the Henley bus service, and now we have the car club. And it's also thanks to SODC for generously actually funding 50% of our initiatives going forward. They funded 50% of the particulate monitoring costs. They will fund 50% of the walking signs, and now they're actually funding 50% of the car club costs. So therefore, it's seriously good value for Henley. It's effectively £11,000 for 2 years of cover. That will give the car club the chance to make a success in Henley for 2 years. If the car club is not successful after 2 years, then it goes. But I do actually seriously think that the car club's time has come, to coin a phrase, because I think because of less journeys that people are making because of COVID, and I think that will stick for a while afterwards, then the thought of people in Henley getting rid of their second car and hiring occasionally the car club car, or getting rid of their first car and occasionally hiring the car club car is apposite and timely. So therefore, the reason why the decision has to be made this evening is because, as Fiona intimated, the finances of SODC are coming to a close for this financial year. There is no guarantee that the £100,000 that was allocated will be rolled over for the third year, actually. And by the way, Henley is the only town to make a call on this money. So we're actually doing very, very well. So therefore, I would completely ask for all councillors' support for the recommendations 5.1 and 5.2. Thank you.
Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to this subject yet because I'm not on the Transport Strategy Group, but firstly, I'd like to thank Dave McEwen because I know he has done an awful amount of work on this project. And he's being consistent and persistent, as it were, in bringing this item forward. I will support the 23,982 thousand in terms of underwriting it, in my view. I think we should go ahead with it and give it a go. I've got two caveats, actually. The first caveat is, yes, let's go ahead with the project, but let's see if we can get some sponsorship to claw that money back over a period of time. Because I do think this is an absolute right project for sponsorship from businesses in the town. So underwrite the 23 grand, go ahead and start the project, but if there's a way that we can do sponsorship on those cars, and I'm talking about small branding, not smothering them in whatever, then we can claw that money back, because there actually are very few advertising points in Henley. So that's the first caveat I'll make. The second caveat I think Dave will be even more happy about, and that's that I think we should give 2 of the staff parking spaces at the town over to the car club to get it going, because clearly there's fewer people coming into the office at the moment, and if we can get it going and have 2 of the staff places there, that would be a good idea. So that's the 2 caveats. The third thing is a pledge. please, can we just go straight to electric as soon as possible? Yes, I understand why you're going to hybrid at the current time, but as soon as you can push the button on electric, then let's see if we can happen. And if the sponsorship kicks in and that allows us sooner to go to electric, then that's a win-win situation for all. We can end up having 2 electric points there in the staff spots and have these cars plugged in. That would be my only amendment, as it were.
Okay, I'm just going to briefly speak as a seconder, which is that I think enough has been said to show that this is a good idea that we should certainly go ahead with, and it is only a 2-year experiment. It is the sort of idea that a few years ago, when Dave McEwen started talking about it, and other people in Henley in transition, as it then was, it was one of those ideas that was regarded as a bit of sort of off the wall and unlikely to ever happen, and times have changed, and I'm pleased that Henley is not only putting forward this idea in order to improve the town and help with parking, help with reduce traffic, but it's also showing that we're leading the way in following what we're preaching about the climate emergency and the work that we're doing to mitigate the effects of climate change and reduce pollution in the town. So I'm very pleased that we're doing this and proving that, or I expect us to prove that it is a practical idea, it does work, and it will become more and more widespread. And who knows how many cars we'll have in 5-10 years' time as a member of this club. So unless someone else wants to speak, I don't see anyone, I suggest we move to the vote.
Can we take them separately, Mr. Chair?
Sorry?
Can we take them separately?
No.
5.1 and 5.2.
No, my proposal was for both of them together.
Okay, Councillor Gabbishak, would you like to just reply before we move to the vote, or would you like to just?
I would like to sum up. Thank you. And yes, I agree with Councillor Hamilton. We should really thank Dave McEwen, who has doggedly and quite right persistently actually pursued this. I also thank Fiona as well. Fiona has done an absolutely fantastic job on this project. It's not been easy because we've had to think of multiple things. I mean, we went down the route of fully electric at first, and that's what we wanted. So I agree with Councillor Hamilton. We will, as soon as we possibly can, transition to fully electric. But it's really thanks to Fiona for actually all the research on the electric bit of this project. And sadly, we had to go for a hybrid, which is still environmentally friendly. On sponsorship, yes, and I would ask Councillor Hamilton to bring sponsors to the table at the next transport strategy meeting so that we can actually discuss them. Regarding the 2 spaces behind the town hall, that's actually not what we want and not what Co-Wheels wants either, because the idea is to have 1 car behind the town hall and another car in the Reading Road area, so that in fact it's close to centres of population. Co-Wheels have mapped Henley. They know what they're doing. They've mapped the demographic of Henley. So therefore, I can only say thank you to the committee if it's approved. I would like it to be unanimous if we possibly can, because it means that I can then go to, or Fiona, the officers can go to SADC and say that Henley Town Council unanimously supported this proposal. So I so propose 5.1 and 5.2. Thank you.
All those in favour of that proposal? Okay, that. Councillor Clark, was that you? Those against? Those abstaining? Seem to be NEMCON. Anyway.
Yeah. Thank you, committee.
Thank
you.
So thank you to those who have.
Councillor Clark's not on the committee, so he wouldn't vote.
Oh right, okay. I was wondering why his video was on then.
Should he have his video off?
Yeah, that was confusing me for a moment.
I think it should be off.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. So the next item after that is item number 7, grants. And as we as we effectively deferred part of public participation, I'm going to invite the 3 members of the public to speak now before we consider the grants. So I don't know who'd like to go first. Michaela, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah, go ahead then. You can turn your video on.
Oh, hold on a second. Okay, so as you can see from the form that I completed, the grant form, I'm looking for £300 for First Henley brownies. Does everyone know what a brownie is? Good. Very good. Okay. So unlike like many organisations in 2020, we didn't meet face to face, so we were only meeting over Zoom, and therefore I took a judgment call that we wouldn't ask the parents for subscriptions at the normal rate, because we weren't supplying all what we normally do. We weren't hiring a hall, etc., etc. And we're now at the stage now where we were asked by Girl Guiding HQ to pay our subscription, which is at the same rate as it's always been, but we haven't had that in 3 subscriptions through the parents. We also normally get a donation from Harpston Fate, which we didn't get this year or last year either. I don't really want to put up the subs when we go back, and we've got lots of things we probably need to purchase when we restart, like new badges, new books and things for new starters. So that's my summary.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I just ask one question? You asked if we all know what brownies are. Do you have boys and girls nowadays?
No.
Scouts have girls.
Yeah, we don't let the boys in, Ian.
Oh dear. Right. Okay.
The Scouts do.
I know Scouts have both nowadays. Councillor Miller.
Yeah, I think the brownies is great. It's so popular in Henley. I don't believe you've ever asked for a grant before. I would be absolutely for proposing the full amount, £300 for the brownies.
Councillor Miller, can I just stop you there? While the members of the public are presenting, we'll just let them present, and if you've got any questions about a fact.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right. Your proposal's time will come, but can we just let the presentations be made, and
Okay.
then we'll go through the items and discuss.
No, just to answer Sarah's question, we've never asked for any money.
No.
We don't normally need to, and we do have a long waiting list still.
Yeah, I know.
I presume that's because you have difficulty getting helpers.
No, it's only because we can only have 24 in the group.
Oh, right. Okay.
So yeah.
Right. Thank you. Who wants to go next? Claudia, do you want to go?
Yes, thank you. I'm here on behalf of Henley Youth Choir, and we are asking for a grant of £2,100. During the COVID period, our income and membership has reduced, so we've been continuing online because we've got 2 professional staff that we employ, and to support them and the children, we wanted to keep going. So as a result, we reduced our fees a little bit, but because singing over Zoom isn't quite the same as singing with each other, because you can't actually hear each other, you don't get that feedback. We have lost really quite a few of our regular choir students. So our main cost, just to summarize, is these 2 professional musicians, plus a little bit on hall hire and music hire. The team itself is run by volunteers, just like most of these kind of groups in Henley. So the grant would be used for 3 things. The first one is school assemblies and come and sing events. So these are events we would run over and above our usual rehearsals and performances. And once this is COVID safe, we would like to go back to this. We'd run the workshops within local schools, and the come and sing events would be at weekends. and the aim is to encourage people, young people, to come together, sing together with these professional musicians. Each of these events costs about £450 to put on, and we would like to have 3 of them ideally in the 1 year, which would add up to about £1,350. Then the second item would be for us to continue to offer a bursary scheme for young people who cannot afford to join Henley Youth Choir. They still pay 10% of the fees, and 90% of the fee is covered by the bursary. And we currently provide this for 3 children who we expect to continue, and we hope to offer this to more children, attract a wider range of young singers. The third item is marketing to help recruitment. As I said, we've lost really quite a few children, and in addition to what we normally do, which is mainly articles in the Henley Standard and printing posters and leaflets, we would like to become a little bit more active with our social media advertising, and go for targeted adverts on Facebook and Instagram. In fact, I have just published the first one today. So we're really hoping that this will add young students to our choir. And to do this sort of publicity for a whole year, we estimate this to be a £300 cost. So adding this all up together, we're looking at 2,100.
Right, thank you, Claudia. That was a very clear explanation of what you do and what you need the money for. Do you have any specific questions to ask Claudia before we move on? Thank you. Susan, did you want to add anything to what Claudia had to say, or has she said it all?
I was here to back her up, but also in case there were any questions about the relationship between Henley Choral Society and the Henley Youth Choir, but there clearly aren't. So
no, well, I think Claudia said it all.
Yes, no, splendid.
Okay, thank you for your presentations, members of the public. And if you could turn your video and audio off now, and we'll go through the applications in turn. So, starting where. Page 45. Page 45 we need to go to first of all. So the usual thing that we do nowadays is that we have a quick pass through each of the items and discuss it, and then we have a second pass at which we actually have a vote on the amount to award or not, as the case may be. So in order, let's start with Oxfordshire Association for the Blind. Does anyone like to speak or make a proposal on that? Lawrence, I think that.
Sorry, just before that one, if it's possible, are we intending to give out the full 10,750 in this allocation? Because obviously we don't even have grants that meet the 10,750 tonight, which is a rare occurrence.
Actually, I was going to ask the town clerk before the meeting, was that if we certainly don't have to award it all. We can we can award nothing if we want, and the 10,000 will then either disappear or it could be accrued into next year. I think
so. We don't have anything to delay to another giving, though, do we? This is kind of the final stage, as well.
Sorry, can you say that again, Councillor?
We don't have any more. We don't have any more to allocate further to this year, do we? This is the final.
This is the final. We're at the end of the year now, so we'd expect there to be no more applications after this, and so anything that we don't spend will be left over. Perhaps the town clerk can advise on the options if we do leave some money over, because it's likely that next year there'll be extra requests as activities increase. We hope over the as we recover from the pandemic.
Thank you. The remaining funds are certainly a guide and not a target, and so all applications should be judged on their merits. If there are amounts left over, they can, if the committee wants, be added to next year. However, I think a preferable route would be to retain the budget that you have for the coming year, and of course a budget is only a guide, and so the council can at its discretion choose to go over budget and award more in grants than it's actually budgeted for, should it wish.
And just to thank you, Town Clerk, that was I think clear. And just to remind people, the amount that we have, we can award, we will be awarding under our delegated powers. If we go over the budgeted, there's a voice somewhere. If we go over our budgeted amount, then that will become a recommendation for full council to approve. That's the normal process, unless I'm working to outdated delegated powers. Town Clerk's not looking too shocked, so I think I've got this right.
That's right.
Apologies, I was muting Councillor Clark, so I didn't hear all that. However, I'm sure that your advice is correct.
Okay, right. Okay, so Oxford Association for the Blind. Would anyone like to make a proposal or make a comment on that? We're not making proposals as yet, or other than as a guideline for what we might do on the second pass. Councillor Gabshaw.
It's really a question first on page 48. How will the grant benefit the Henley community? Because of course we are minded to be Henley specific wherever we possibly can. It says we have a very good relationship with our clients in Henley before lockdown, etc. The 91 existing clients, are they indicating that there are 97 clients in the Henley area, or is this just the whole of Oxfordshire? So it was really that question, because if there are 97, we should certainly support the grant by a substantial amount. Other councillors may know this. So Lorraine and Lawrence are thinking.
It does say number of clients in Henley equals 97 times 19.87, which suggests that all those 97 are from Henley. But,
yeah. Okay.
Lorraine's nodding. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They've got over 3,000 in Oxfordshire.
Okay, right. So there are 97 beneficiary Henley residents who are benefiting from this organisation. So that does suggest to me that the grant application is a good one.
I propose the full 1,900.
Let's just give an indication now that we're broadly in favour of that, unless someone wishes to speak against the application for the 1,900. Okay, let's move on then. In that case, to the Oxfordshire Volunteer Befriending Service. Would anyone like to speak to that, Councillor Plum?
Oh, I think this is still one of my favourite that comes in each time, so I'll be minded to go for the full amount, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of support for it.
Yeah, I think that's right. No one's disagreeing. Creative Minds Consultancy. This, when I saw the name, I was prepared not to be impressed, but I thought the application was a good one, and it seems particularly suitable for this year, given the difficulties young people are bound to be having, losing school, contact with friends and so on. And so young people's well-being does seem particularly worthy of support. Councillor Plant, I'll go for you first, then Councillor Gavishak.
Just a point. Is that fee now going to come down that we've modified the hours of use? Is that based on the existing hours of use, which will now be reduced, that we've gone to a more beneficial daily rate for the King's Arm Barn, or is it unaffected?
Can the Town Clerk, would you like to answer?
I believe that the use is a very good question. I don't think it would apply for the day rate, because I believe that it's session spread over the year. Although I need to double check the application. However, we will be applying whatever rates are applicable at the time. So it could well be that amount does come down if there are block bookings, or if they're done for a half day or a full day, for example.
So the award would take that into account if the costs changed.
Indeed, yes. For free use, it is almost a paper exercise. It's there is no net cost to the council.
It's 1,680 in and 1,680 out, as we know. But
other than potential lost revenue from the hireable rooms not being able to be used.
Yeah. Councillor Gavishak, did you have a comment?
Yes, just about the grant application, and I think very supportive of this. We've we've seen on the news and we've heard reports of Henley about the need for counselling and mental health, needs for counselling. And as Frances says, she's a head of art and a qualified counsellor for children, adolescents using the arts. And I think this skill set will do well for people in Henley. So I'm minded to be very generous at the moment and hope it gets going. Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Miller.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just don't feel. I don't feel the love with this. I don't know why, but it just. I would be interested to hear or to see more about the workshops. I'm surprised they haven't been able to find other premises for these workshops, perhaps the colleges or places that are probably more suitable for this kind of business. I don't know. I would like to get more information on what courses, what they're actually running. I'm sure it's absolutely fine and great, and I do hope I hope that they're very successful, but I just want to know a little bit more about them, really.
Well, it's perfectly possible for us to make the award, but request more information about the nature of the sessions that they do, the qualifications of the teachers. So I think when we come to make the award, if we agree to it, then seeking further information makes sort of sense. There isn't a great deal of detail there. Councillor Hamilton.
I just note, I might support this one, but I note their turnover has gone from 11,000 down to 3, and they've obviously been affected by COVID like so many other organisations. So I think we should step in where we can.
Okay, let's move on. The next one is pages and pages of accounts here.
Home Start.
Home Starts then, so for those who are ahead of me. Oh, right, Home Starts. Anyone like to speak to this? Councillor Gavishak.
Just to kick it off, I'm a little concerned about this. We have a wonderful organisation in Henley called Nomad, and the grant requested is for £1,000, and they are supporting one family in Henley. We all know, and we rock solidly support Nomad in the Henley area, that they support loads and loads and loads of families. So I think I would have misgivings about this, but I'll listen to other councillors as well.
It does seem a very focused form of money to number of recipients, and it may be that we could consider deferring it pending a more detailed explanation to see if it really is the best use of the money, rather than say giving an extra £1,000 to Nomad, as you say. Councillor Hillier.
Yeah, I was just going to agree actually with Councillor Gavishak's comments. They have got 3 volunteers in Henley, but I do think supporting one family is not the best use of the community grant at this stage.
Okay. Anyone else got any comments? Shall we move on? Okay, moving on to the next one, which is Henley Youth Choir. Who'd like to speak about the Henley Youth Choir? I've attended a few of their concerts over the years, and I was always impressed at the quality of the concerts and the fact that they don't audition, so anyone can join. It's open to any person who's simply got the enthusiasm and wants to join a choir, which has a good feel to it. And I was also amazingly impressed how they got going so quickly from in 2014 when they started off. So I think they're a great organisation. It's based on local people, and again, it's getting young people together, helping them, and learning how to do things together, and appreciating things like the arts. So So I feel very supportive of this. Councillor Miller.
Yeah, I echo that, Councillor Iceman. I'm very supportive of this. I think singing is great for all people. It's very therapeutic. It makes you feel good. It ticks all the boxes. I think this is yeah. I'm very much in favour of the youth choir, and yeah, very happy to support it.
Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, I'm minded to support this as well. I think it's fantastic what they've done. I know they're asking for quite a lot. And in fact, the last two applications should both also apply to the...
Okay. Any other comments, or shall we move on? Let's move on.
Kelly.
Oh, sorry, Kelly. No.
Yeah, firstly, apologies for lateness, Chairman. But also I echo everyone else has said, but just wanted to point out as well that they haven't asked for a grant since 2014. So that, you know, I feel that they do need this, and they've come to us because they need it, and that's another reason to support it. They're not a local group that have come to us year on year, so I think that goes in their favour as well.
Yeah, and they've had particular difficulties, of course, this year, which we're keen to try and help the town get over. It's important that we do everything we can to help get things back to normal over the next 12 months. Okay, let's move on to the brownies. Anyone want to comment on Councillor Miller?
Actually, no, I think I've already commented on it, haven't I?
You started to, yes. I cut you off.
They've done really. I've got a lot of admiration for the brownies, you know, and they've never asked us for any money before, you know. The brownies is a great little club. Every little girl in Henley, if you talk to them, you know, they want to join the brownies. Or they're waiting, like my kids, you know. I think my kids only got about 6 months in the brownies, you know, because they went on a waiting list for God knows how many years. But you know, it's a wonderful club, and absolutely fully support this.
You keep talking about being in the brownies. I can't help but thinking of the Billy Connolly song. But, anyway, Councillor Hamilton.
I too fully support this one. I know that they've only asked for £300, yet they have to pay £697.20 in March. We're already up to the 9th of March, so councillors might consider the amount that we give them. I'm sure we're going to give them something, but perhaps we should look more at the 697 rather than the 300. I leave it to other councillors to decide.
Any other? Councillor Hillier.
Yeah, I was just going to make comment. It's a good organisation to give a grant to, and I thought they were asking a very modest sum as well.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Walkers are Welcome. Who'd like to comment on this? Councillor Govishak.
Well, I'm going to completely support this. Anything that attracts visitors to Henley, and Walkers are Welcome does, and we've been supporting this organisation for a long while. And I know Peter Stone, he's a very dedicated person. And if you have a look on page 94, it will enable them to run walking festivals in the town and promote walking. So therefore, we actually get visitors coming to Henley for their. I've been on one of Peter's walks, and there were people from London that came to do the walk. Fantastically organised, and so complete support for this. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good application, isn't it? Councillor Plan.
Yeah, no, support it, like it. I was just thinking it would be nice to maybe see how numbers are changing each year. I don't know whether Peter keeps track of how many turn up to the festivals and the events and stuff like that, just so that we can see it growing and see the success, and, you know, use our new marketing and communication to help build upon it, as it works. I think, you know, we do a lot of good, and we've got to track just how good it is, and, you know, the growth and benefits, etc.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on.
Could I point something out, please, Chairman?
Oh, sorry, Councillor, you're tucked away in the corner of my screen. So.
It's probably because I arrived late, so it's my own fault. I just wanted to point out this looking at producing a dog walking guide. I think this is really useful, actually. This would be good to see. We've had lots of posts on social media over recent years, but it strikes me for various reasons. One, people will know maybe where dog poo bins are, so instead of hanging their bags on trees like ornaments, they might be encouraged to take them to the nearest bin. And two, there was recently an incident where a dog was too large to be carried over a stile. And so that kind of information and knowing where to avoid with larger dogs and things like that, and where animals are, and for various reasons, I think it would be really good. So I was particularly interested in supporting that.
Okay. Let's move on to the final one, which is Shiplake Vikings Rowing Club. Any comments on that? Councillor Gavashak.
I'm going to speak strongly against this. We have fantastic rowing clubs in Henley Wargrave Road and Henley Remenham Lane. So they're across the river, but they actually serve Henley, and therefore I think this is just stretching it too far away down the river. That we have supported rowing in the past. We've supported the women's regatta, and I think we should stick with what we do best. That's supporting local clubs. Although Shiplake is just down the road, but it's distant from Henley. So therefore, I would be against this grant. Thank you.
I think it's worth noting that as an organisation, they have assets of nearly 100,000 and an annual income and expenditure of about 12,000, and the previous year was 16,000, a more normal year, and so they have a considerable float already of money, which looks like about 4 or 5 years worth of income. So whether they need a grant, I would thought is quite debatable. I don't see any indication of how many members they've got are living in Henley, and we received the same application, as far as I can remember, last year, which we again declined for all the reasons I think Councillor Gavashak has made clear. So no, I'm not inclined to support this one either. Anyone else?
I'm surprised they haven't applied to Shiplake, because it says details of any other grants and they've put none. So I would advise them to apply to Shiplake Parish Council.
Yeah, again, that looks a strange omission. I think that there is money in that people can get for rowing, and for them to have made no other attempt seems odd. Okay, shall we go back and then go through them in a second pass, go through them in order, and then make proposals as we go along. And I'm sure the accountant has got a calculator ready to do a. So I see. Oh, you're the old-fashioned analog calculator still, are you? You're not using your Windows calculator then. Okay, so starting off, the Oxfordshire Volunteer Befriending Service.
It's the Association for the Blind.
Association for the Blind. Oh. So they've applied for 1,900, and we've given them 800 a few years ago. I would like to make a proposal. Councillor Plant.
Propose the full amount. They actually seem to help more people than any of the other applications this grant period. So yeah, definitely.
Do you have a seconder for that? Councillor Gavashak, yeah. Okay. All those in favour?
Hold on, I want to speak against it.
Sorry, okay, go ahead then.
Yeah, I just feel, Chairman, you're looking at some of these. I think you should be looking at the balance sheet of some of these people that are asking money tonight. And because of the times we're in, you look at their balance sheet, and I think it looks quite strong. And I think just to give the money just for the sake of requesting the money, I think is wrong. I think we're doing the wrong thing here. So I can't support that kind of money. I'm sorry.
I think when it comes to the balance sheet, you should look at both the assets that they have, but also the income and expenditure. So you're looking to see how many years of no income they could survive. And although they have assets of 83,000, their income and expenditure is up 2 or 3 times that. So I think that's effectively enough to bear in mind. it is possible that we could consider a lower award, or are you suggesting no award, Councillor Arlott?
Yeah, I was proposing no award at this moment in time. Okay. For what it's worth, Chairman, I did run a business for 50 years, so I understand the profit and loss account as well.
Okay, fair enough. Right, we have a proposal for the full amount. Councillor Arlott spoken against. We can, if we vote this down, then we can make an alternative proposal. Councillor Gabishak.
I'll just chip something in. The income is out of kilter with the expenditure at the moment, and they do support 97 families or sort of people in Henley. So that actually swings it for me. So I'm quite happy to second the full amount. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favour of the proposal? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4, I think. Is there a fifth? Oh, the fifth is Kelly. Yeah. I must adjust my screen. So it's 5 in favour. Those against? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's carried. The next one is the Oxfordshire Volunteer Befriending Service, and the application is for 500. Do I have a proposal for that? Councillor Platt.
I'm going to go full again. I think this one is a great one. They come to us each time. They thank us every year. I think they do a phenomenal effort. Okay,
there was a seconder for that. Councillor Miller. Right, all those in favour? That's everyone, I think. Next, we have the Creative Minds.
Well, let's Sarah did.
Councillor Hamilton.
I suggest half. I don't know what other councillors think. The reason why I'm suggesting half is to get them going and help them, help them on their ways.
Councillor Miller, you were.
Yeah, the money is actually from the use of the barn, isn't it? It's is that what we're offering them? Just free usage of
yes,
of the barn for, I think, 3 days. Is it 3 or 4 days a week in the holidays?
Yeah, in the summer.
Yeah. I mean, I as I said earlier, I would like a little. I know we've got pages and pages of accounts. I would like to know a little bit more about what they propose to do in the barn over those 3 days. Just something, about their courses, what the plans are.
We have got the choice of making a conditional award, but making it dependent on, say, meeting with them or then providing more information so that we can make a final decision at, say, full council in 3 weeks' time. So we have that option.
Okay, well, I mean, whatever everyone else thinks.
Okay, so we have a proposal from Councillor Hamilton for half, which I'm not sure really is one thing or another. Is there a seconder for that proposal before we move on? No, there's no seconder for that proposal. So kind of an alternative proposal there. Councillor Plants.
It is effectively not money, as it were. It's in and out, like we've discussed on previous occasions. And, I think I'd like to follow with Councillor Miller's. I'd like to clarify maybe what they're going to do in the syllabus, but otherwise I'm minded to say, it's not costing us anything. We have the asset there to use. It's percentage use over the year. It's unlikely to cost us possibly generated revenue from the time periods they're looking at. So I think, we support it with the free use. And if they can clarify their syllabus slightly beforehand, fantastic.
So would you make that a condition that they have to provide the information before we finally decide, or would you like to decide but request further information?
I would say go for it, request further information.
I'm happy to second that. I think that's a sensible proposal. Councillor Hillier, you have been...
Yeah, I just question whether the barn is actually the right space for this. Yeah. That's my concerns, because that is listed and it depends what sort of work they're doing there. If it's a lot of activity, it could be quite damaging to the barn.
We again could discuss that with them.
Yeah.
Councillor Gabishak.
Yeah, it's really I'm fully supporting the full amount, and in fact, when I was writing my notes on this, I said report, which meant that we do need a report back from this organisation to actually tell us what they're doing and what they're going to do in the future. So I think we've I think we've caveated it quite well.
I think the mood of the meeting is
more information.
It's broadly clear that we support them, but we would just like reassuring on firstly the nature of the sessions that they're doing, and that the barn is the appropriate place. Councillor Miller.
Yeah, I mean, just very lastly, although we're not physically giving them money, it is still potential money for the council, because you know, for people that may have a wedding in the hall and want to use the barn as a reception. You know, if this company are going to have the barn for 3 days a week or 4 days a week, then potentially we could lose. And quite rightly, as Councillor Hillier said, it's a listed building. We don't know what they're going to do. So I think we should get as much information as possible.
It's just for the summer holidays, so it's not sort of across the whole year.
No.
So it's bridging that gap. It's providing an alternative.
Okay.
But you know, I take your point. So we have a proposal that the full amount, but request further details on the nature of what they're offering, which is, given that we haven't had an application from them before, it would appear, is a sensible thing to ask for more details on. So all in favour of that proposal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's okay. That's passed. This one takes forever, doesn't it? I have to scroll down. So the next one is the home staff. Who'd like to speak to that? Councillor Gaveshat.
Well, I'll kick it off. As I spoke before, I would be concerned about definitely giving £1,000. I mean, I might be willing to be persuaded on smaller amounts, but I don't think that supporting one family in isolation is actually the right thing to do at the moment. And as I said in my preamble beforehand, we have Nomad, who support lots and lots of families. I'm not saying we give the extra £1,000 to Nomad at all, because we quite properly deal with that grant when we deal with it in the fullness of time. But I am not content about this.
Again, well, what we could do is to turn it down, but but write to them as part of the decision to say that we felt that one family receiving what was £1,000, the council wasn't a good idea. So we could ask them to provide further information about why they feel this is the right thing for the town council to do.
Therefore, can I propose that we turn them down, but we ask them for more information, and then in the next grant cycle we have more information to make a more rounded judgment on it. But the fact that they're only supporting one family gives me concerns.
I'd like to know more. So, just before I come to you, Councillor Hillier, the town clerk has got his finger up.
Clarification: in their application, I believe they say that it costs £1,200 to support a family for a year. I didn't get the impression that they simply meant that it was one family that they would be supporting.
Well, the wording is fairly clear. It says we've supported one family in Henley this year. I think it does say that. Now, they may have misworded it carelessly. That's possible. But I think we have to go on the information we've got. And if that is the correct information, then I think I would support this proposal. Councillor Hillier.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I was going to say I don't think they have misworded it, because they're saying that they're open to referrals. But I would like to see them a bit more proactive in the area, in approaching families themselves rather than relying on referrals. So,
I was going to say, they are a massive company up and down the country. They're pretty much in every county up and down the country. They support some 27,000 families or something like that, according to their website. They very much focus on families with difficulties with, kind of very young children, as it were, so maybe slightly different to Nomad. I think still, I hear what we're saying, but it is nonetheless still one family in Henley. And I think if it's not the full 1,000, I would still be minded to say, a couple of £100 or something like that, because at the end of the day, you know, we're here to help those that are struggling. We're going to have a little bit surplus from this grant cycle, and I would, you know, at the very minimum, I would want to personally recommend that we at least give them £100 or £200 towards this family in Henley that they clearly are helping.
No, I can see your point. I'm minded to agree with the proposal that Councillor Gavashak's made, and we can always change our minds if in the light of any further information they can provide. But I think as it stands, it doesn't feel right to support it. So I think we have a proposal from Councillor Gavashak, which is that we make no award, but we invite them to provide more information for possibly future reference. So, Councillor Hamilton.
Can we meet with them before full council and then maybe make a decision at full council? Will they be written? When will the letters go out, providing people with information? And it might be possible to meet with them before full council, particularly if we expedite the response. Who actually responds in the to this?
Liz.
Liz, would you like to enlighten us?
In theory, I'd write to them all tomorrow. If I, yeah, I mean, I should have time. It's just, I think it's full council's next. Is it next week? Is it this cycle where it's very soon?
Oh, is it one of these very, very quick ones? Right. It might be because of Easter.
I can't quite remember.
2 weeks' time.
It's in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so there is time to reply and arrange a meeting.
There is time. I'm on leave next week, so I might have to get somebody else to organise it.
Yeah, that will be okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a proposal. It's just we vote on it, and if they do want to meet with us before full council, it does prove practical. We can do that. All those in favour of the proposal? Okay. Those against? Right. Okay, that's carried. The next one is Henley Youth Choir. I think there was a pretty clear consensus when we discussed this to give the full award. So I'm going to propose that we give the full award of 2,100 in recognition of the great work they do for a significant number of local children. Councillor Hamilton.
I'll second that.
Councillor Miller, are you seconding? Trying to second?
Yeah, I was seconding.
Okay, I think we need to discuss this a great deal. Councillor Plant, if you want to make a comment.
It's just a small point, like on the first part of the sheet when people don't fill in assets, cash balance, income and expenditure. It's one of those like minor annoyance when you're applying for a financial grant to have not included the basic information.
That is a good point, and
as in, I'm still happy to do it, but I just think maybe next time we should be stricter on almost we won't consider it if these things aren't filled in.
Yeah, Town Clerk, would you like to?
It says to either fill in that or to attach. I believe it's 2 years accounts. I believe which they have done. On
they have, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
86.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so did we vote on that? I don't think we did. All those in favour of the full amount to Henley Youth Choir? Okay, right. Okay, thank you. That looks unanimous. The next one is Henley Brownies. Councillor Arnott.
Yeah, I think Michaela's undervalued herself here, Chairman. And there again, you look at their assets turnover or whatever, and they are struggling at the moment. So I'm going to propose £500, and that would still leave them in a debit situation over the year. So I'll propose £500.
Have a second for that.
I'll second that.
Okay, Councillor Miller seconded that. I think that's reasonable. If Michaela and the group find that they don't need it, they can always decline the second 200. So in the event, I somehow think that they won't, but they have that option. Okay, all those in favour of that proposal? Okay, thank you. Next one is, oh, I can't read the writing here.
Walkers are welcome.
Is the a walkers are welcome. Would someone like to make a proposal on that? Councillor Gaveshow.
I propose the full amount, £500. Thank you.
Have a seconder for that, Councillor Hamilton. Okay, all those in favour? Right, that's unanimous. Thank you. And lastly, Shiplake Vikings. Councillor Gaveshow, I thought you might be proposing this.
Yes, well, I've spoken extensively, so I won't do it again. Therefore, I propose nothing. And in the letter, we recommend that they go to the County Council grants in Shiplake and Shiplake Parish Council for support. Thank you.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Arlott. Okay, all those in favour? Right, thank you, that's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Thank you to the members of the public who came along and presented and listened to our discussions. We hope you're happy with the results. I think you should be. Okay. Right, moving back to the next item on the agenda. We come to item number 8, the Thames Farm surface water drainage proposals. Town Clerk, would you like to introduce this item?
Thank you very much. Firstly, my apologies, there's no report on this item. It came to our attention rather late. Hence, you've got the proposals from Taylor Wimpey, but there's no report to go alongside it. So to outline what this is about, for those who may not be aware, so the Thames Farm development, which is taking place on the outskirts of Shiplake, they put in initial proposals for surface water drainage, which were rejected by the District Council. And this is their next pass at the proposals, which is basically to direct the surface water north towards Henley, to discharge it into the River Hart north of Jubilee Park, and then for it to go down the River Hart and obviously discharge into the Thames from there. There's been a lot of concern raised about this from councillors, from local residents, and it is being brought up to this committee as it affects the town council as a local landowner, in the fact that it runs past Jubilee Park. Now, the council will naturally be concerned about the scheme, not only as a potentially affected landowner, but also as a voice for the local community and a planning consultee. It's the council wears two different hats, and one of the decisions the council will be how it wishes to deal with this, either holistically as a planning matter to be dealt with by planning, or potentially for FSM to deal with the issues arising as a landowner. If the committee feels that actually the concerns affecting the council as a landowner are the same as affecting the broader community, then it could be dealt with just holistically by planning. To confirm what we've undertaken so far in our investigations, our own planning officer, Jodie Rhymes, has been in contact with planning to confirm what is the process for these proposals, and SODC have come back to say that these proposals is a discharge of planning conditions. They usually wouldn't put it out to public consultation. However, they are in this case. They expect to receive the final proposals by the end of the month, and then they will consult with the public on the proposals, and the town council is amongst those consultees. Given the highly technical nature of the water drainage proposals, in anticipation of this meeting, I've also been trying to get some quotes from drainage engineers to, for first of all, to appraise the report, to give their judgment on the report's findings, and also a quote to provide assistance to the council should the council wish to make a representation to the district council or to the developer about it. So the matter for the committee to look at tonight is first of all how they wish to deal with this, whether or not they wish to seek professional advice on this, or simply raise the concerns with SODC and ask them to investigate it further, or whether or not they feel the committee feels that we should be commissioning our own professional research, potentially in partnership with other stakeholders, for example, the Shiplake and Hobson parish councils. And then the second question for the committee is whether or not you wish it to be dealt with by this committee, or whether you feel that it can be dealt with holistically by the planning committee instead.
Thank you, Town Clerk. I think that was a helpful and well, it helped clear some of the cloud around this issue. Can you just confirm where we are procedurally? So planning permission has been granted for Thames Farm, it has done some time ago, but there were conditions attached on providing suitable drainage plans. And the original drainage plans have been shown not to be adequate, partly as a result of subsequent discoveries. But and this is the latest plan. There's no obligation, as I understand it, on the district council to consult with either landowners or local or town councils and other local authorities regarding this the matter of the drainage plans. But they have, as a result of public pressure, felt that they need to do that. So procedurally, we can provide input to the process which the district council are undergoing. Is that a reasonable summary of where the district council are as the planning authority on this application?
Yes, that's a very accurate summary to my knowledge.
Right. Before you, well, I'll let Councillor Gavishak go ahead. I have got a proposal which I'm happy to put to the committee for discussion. But if you want to speak first, Councillor Gavishak, that's fine.
Yeah. No, I think we should talk about it, and yes, then we will debate the proposal. I mean, the first thing is to say that I think finance and planning should be involved in this process. But I'll just talk generally about the scheme. This is absolutely shocking. And councillors have got to bear in mind that this is broader and deeper than this. Taylor Wimpey acquired this site, and it was granted planning permission at appeal. It was only granted because South Oxfordshire District Council were below their 5-year land supply figure, and we missed that figure by 2 houses. So this site came in by the narrowest of margins. The reason why they're having to get rid of this drainage water is because this land is full of sinkholes, and in order to stabilize the ground, they have to pump slurry concrete into the land to actually stabilize the foundations, which means that if you pump concrete into the land, where does the water go? Well, the water goes down this convoluted channel, which travels 2 miles towards Henley and turns right through Jubilee Park and onto the Thames. We are the landowner. We should make strong representations on this. We should fully engage with SODC planning, and we should make absolutely loud and clear that this particular solution is shocking and should not happen. Thank you.
Councillor Hamilton.
This is the second hash of a bad plan, and we absolutely need to stand up to Shiplake. It's their problem, and they can't just transfer a problem from a site that's been given given permission for Taylor Wimpey. All they're doing is transferring the problem to Henley, and it's up to Taylor Wimpey to come up with a different solution. And you can't allow this outlet, as it were, to just fall into the heart. It will potentially flood Jubilee Park and our sports pitches with not just rainwater but other solvents as well. It would flood Mill Lane. It would flood the small pipe that goes into the river, and we would get rubbish going into the river. Pollutants going into the river. This is ridiculous. The key to this is that Taylor Wimpey needs to keep their surface water on that site. They can do that by building fewer houses and stop being so greedy, and then put a filtration lake within the site. They can then put a filtration lake in there. They can hold their rainwater. They can purify it. They can do what else? But you've got to realise, with all the concrete that goes into this site to solidify it, and all the driveways, there's a hell of a runoff, and so there could be a considerable amount of water coming down this pipe, as it were, into Henley. It should be kept in Shiplake, and it should be kept on the Taylor Wimpey site, and it shouldn't be up to us to come up with a solution. They should be employing a hydrologist to look specifically at this problem. They've paid, north of 22 million for the site. I'm sure they can afford our hydrologist to come up with the third hash of a plan for what I think is fewer houses, a filtration lake within the site that they've got. It doesn't, ironically, affect the Wildfell site next door, where they haven't got a similar problem. So it's purely a Taylor Wimpey problem. And just a point to bear in mind, this doesn't actually, from what I understand, go to the planning committee. This is a discharge subject to the planning officers coming to an approval. We need to speak now, and we need to ensure that the public consultation happens and that people reply to that consultation so that the planners listen to us. It doesn't go to a formal committee, from what I understand.
Okay, thank you. I am going to make a proposal now, and I'm going to share my screen so the wording can be seen by everyone. Oh, Sheridan, can you enable screen sharing? While Sheridan does that, I think what we have to remember a couple of things here. Firstly, planning permission has been granted, and we can't rerun the planning process. We can't. But it's fairly obvious to me that the position that this developer finds itself in, and the district council and ourselves here tonight, represents a failure of the planning system. How can you approve a plan for a large piece of development like this without a clear plan of how the drainage and how the water is going to work, without damaging, restricting both the site and also the neighbouring areas? It's the opposite of planning. It's complete lack of planning. And I think we should leave aside the other failure, which was the failure of the neighbourhood planning system when the land supply proved to be insufficient. So yes, I'm going to share my my screen now with the proposal on it, which you should be able to see. Can everyone see that? So the principles behind this are, firstly, we, as landowners, we are very concerned that the proposal will damage our assets, our land and our facilities on that land. And that's our concern as a landowner. And we want to be able to assess whether or not the arguments being made by Taylor Wimpey stand up in terms of hydrology, in terms of other planning and landscaping issues. And as has been pointed out, I've tried reading this report, and I'm not a planning expert. I'm not I've looked at a lot of plans in the past, and I've looked at these sorts of developer documents, and I can't judge whether or not this proposal is safe for the town council's land or not. And therefore, we do, I think, need to make sure that we get some professional advice on how to assess the issues and how to make representations of district council to ensure the interests of this council and the residents around Henley are fully protected. I'm going to slightly disagree with Councillor Gavashak in that I'm going to both agree and disagree on who should do the response. I think that the landowner and the planning issues are sufficiently similar, and the skills and the knowledge are more on the planning side than this committee. And therefore, I think we should give guidance to the planning committee by passing this proposal, which is that we are shocked and concerned at the proposals, but we should leave it to the planning committee to make the response in one place from this town council. The responses would have to be the same, otherwise we'd end up looking rather silly and inconsistent. So I think we do need to refer this back to the planning committee, in the knowledge that they will be informed by the professional advice that we need to undertake as part of this proposal. So I propose these 4 bullet points that are on your screen now. And do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Hamilton?
I'm happy to second. The only amendment I would ask you to consider, Councillor Reisman, is you say HTC land and Jubilee Park. I think it's beholden to this council to look and the surrounding area. Okay. We have land down Mill Lane, for example.
All right.
So I've just asked you to add and the surrounding area.
Well, I'll just put around, in and around Jubilee Park. Is that okay?
Okay. Whatever wording you want. I just think it's broader than Jubilee Park. It's the land at the bottom of Mill Lane as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anyone else like to comment on this? Councillor Gavashak.
Yeah, fully supportive of this motion, and I welcome planning getting its teeth into it. And actually, sort of, Councillor Hamilton actually sort of gave me something that I hadn't even thought of, which is not only have we got the rainwater and the rising flood water, if you like, on the site, but you're right, cars will drive onto this site and they will contaminate that water with petroleum, etc., blah blah blah, and that will run all the way down the pipe past Jubilee Park and into the Thames. So on environmental grounds, this is absolutely shocking as well. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else like to comment? Councillor Arlott.
Yeah, just correct a couple of things that were said, Chairman. Councillor Gavashak mentioned it was a 5-year land supply. Actually, it was a 3-year land supply that they didn't have sufficient. And Councillor Hamilton said it's Shiplake's problem. Well, it's not Shiplake's problem because the development's in Harpston, and it's obviously Harpston's problem. Although obviously the likes of Shiplake and Henley have been drawn into it. What worries me a wee bit is this report we've got by NZ Go, or whatever they call themselves. I was a bit annoyed when I heard they've kind of gone round the back route in this. They didn't even get in touch with Henley Town Council about going onto our land to survey it. They managed to get a contact through AFC Henley, which I don't believe they should have done. So it just tells you the kind of people that we could be up against. They maybe they're not honest people, I don't know, but it's a typical report when you've got the likes of Taylor Wimpey or whoever. You're asking people to do a report which is going to come out in your favour. When you look at this report, for those of you who have read it, there are so many items in there which, when they've gone a little bit farther, will show you that it could be a major problem. I got a figure today that they reckon they could be 30 litres a second could be the water amount coming down one of these drain pipes into town council land, and we're proposing to build a 3G pitch down there. And the last thing we would need is to turn that area into a floodplain, which it possibly could do, annually. You know, for that reason alone, I wouldn't I wouldn't want it. But and then it goes on much farther to the Mill Lane residents. I don't think they've taken any note of the residents, and Councillor Hamilton mentioned that as well. I don't think they've even contacted any of the residents down Mill Lane. Now, we know they get enough flooding down there anyway, and the last thing they would want is more water added to it. So, you know, what I would say to Taylor Wimpey, I'm sorry, but, you know, take your water somewhere else. You know, Henley Town Council land is not a tip. We don't wish it to be tipped on our land. And, you know, sadly, they purchased the land, they've purchased the problem, and I don't think the problem should go on to other towns or parishes, and that's what they're proposing at the moment. So, you know, all that said, obviously, you know, I wouldn't go anywhere near this for support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else before we move to the vote? Okay, all those in favour of the proposal that you can see shared on your screen. Okay, that is unanimous, I think. Okay, right, thank you.
Could I just say one more thing as well, Jim? Sorry, I did have it written down there. That this really shouldn't be at any cost to Henley Town Council. You know, anything we should do, you know, Taylor Wimpey should be paying for this. You know, it's not our problem, but, you know, they are causing the problem. And they could put us to a considerable amount of money. And so I think we should be writing to Taylor Wimpey anyway, and asking them to refund any money that we have to pay out on this because of the problem that has arisen with them purchasing the land. I'll leave that to you, Chairman.
I wouldn't disagree with that. It's probably something that, as we've just resolved to refer this to the planning committee, that's probably for the planning committee to do, unless you think because it's asking for money.
That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree that that the lack of proper preparation for this planning application and by Taylor Wimpey has resulted in us having to spend time discussing it, us having to spend money on professional advice, us having to spend officer time looking at the issues that their plan has produced. And I think it's reasonable for us to be compensated for that, given that they are a developer who's planning to make money from this development. Okay, thank you. Next item, and I've lost my agenda.
Exclusion of the public, Chairman.
Exclusion of the public and press. Right, I now propose that the public and press be excluded from the remainder of the meeting in accordance with the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960, as publicity will be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business. I so move. Seconder?